I did see a lot of shows and a lot of movies, but as the title implies, these are the only ones that I like. Now, as also a side note, I will try really hard not to give spoilers to anything, in case anybody wants to go watch these and not be spoiled by anything. If I do start to give spoilers on something, then I'll put up a little warning that says spoiler and you can just skip it if you wish. Okay, so first on this list, in order of dates, is how I'm gonna do it, is The Legend of Vox Machina. It is essentially a show based on the first campaign of Critical Role. Majority of it takes place with Percy's past, more so. The first 2 episodes have a dragon in it, but that's like about it, usually. I'm not gonna spoil the end of it or season 2, because season 2 is actually coming out. In fact, it might actually be out now by the time this video's up. Either way, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Put little Easter eggs, and even there's a couple of Easter eggs also from like campaign 2 that make it in there. But if you've not seen campaign 2, I'm not gonna spoil that for anybody who wants to go watch it. It was a fun show. It's crazy. It's not for kids. Don't be fooled by a cartoon. It is not for kids. Like, at all. Anybody who knows about Vox Machina's door issue, that was so funny to see that in there, of them literally hating a door. It was, oh my god, I was laughing so hard when I saw that. It was great. So, for this first season, I would probably give it maybe an 8.5, maybe 9. I think mostly 8.5, because I'm a little upset that some of the stuff from the campaign didn't, at least that section of the campaign, didn't make it all in. I didn't mind some of the changes. Those were totally fine. Those were whatever with me, but yeah, about an 8.5, I would say, out of 10. So next on this list is Bridgerton Season 2. I enjoyed it so much more than season 1. Still recommend watching season 1 because it does set up a lot of the characters and the actors all do a fantastic job. That one's more Daphne's story. This one is more of Anthony's story. You still do get set up with some of the other siblings. Eloise is also basically being a debutante this season. In fact, that's like the first episode. It starts with her basically going to present herself in front of the queen. It is a romance. It is basically a romance. It is a satire of the Regency era, but it is so good. So it is based on a book series of the Bridgerton siblings. So each season's going to have a dedication to each sibling. The thing I learned with this is from fans who read the book, which is, unfortunately, some of the motives that happen with Anthony in season 2, unfortunately did not get translated from the book to the show. So there's a few questions you do kind of raise at with some of his motives and a few other characters' motives. But if you find out through fans like, oh, this is why Anthony does this, or this is why he thinks this, it makes a little bit more sense and it does give a bit more agency to why that's happening. So that's the only criticism I really have. I also love the soundtrack. I love how they took modern music and made it classical. I recommend that soundtrack, both season 1 and season 2. So with this one, I definitely give it a 9. It is definitely higher than season 1 is. We have, of course, the movie that took the world by storm, brought people back to the theaters in the summertime or late spring. Yeah, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this anymore. It is Top Gun Maverick. Talk about such an enjoyable, fun movie. I saw the original Top Gun. I'm gonna be using the word fun a lot probably for this because it really was. It was just so much fun. You do have to suspend your disbelief just a tiny bit because there is a couple scenes that you will look at and go like, I don't think a pilot would actually do that in those jets, but I still recommend watching it. Just turn your brain off, enjoy the film for what it is. So the only issues I had was a couple conversations with some characters. Not a whole lot, really. Just a few conversations that take place with some characters where I'm just like, oh my god, what are you doing? What are you saying to each other? Anybody who hasn't seen it yet, go watch it. You will not be disappointed. So for Top Gun Maverick, I would definitely give this, it's a 9. It is a solid 9 for me. So next on this list, we have the show that brought us back to Westeros about 200 years before season 1 of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Oh my god, this was so good. Oh my god, the acting was top notch. The writing was amazing. This really, like, if you watched seasons 7 and 8 and were just like, nope, I am never visiting this world again, go watch House of the Dragon, because man, it basically destroys those seasons to no end. It brings you back to the days of the beginning of Game of Thrones where it's like, yeah, this is good. If you don't know, House of the Dragon is, of course, George R. R. Martin's story. It's basically about the Targaryen dynasty, takes place during essentially what becomes as the Dance of the Dragons, where the Targaryen family fight among themselves. That is essentially what it is. Season 1 is basically building up to that. Everybody, oh my gosh, I don't know who was my favorite character. Because they were all so good in their own right, and everybody had like motivations that you're kind of like, do I root for this character or do I hate this character? There are times where I was like, oh my god, this character is making stupid decisions, but I kind of understand, but it's still dumb, or that was just straight up a stupid decision. Damien's character, man, that guy is such an asshole, but you gotta love him for it. It's so good, this show. This one is definitely a 10. I recommend it. And the actor playing Viserys, man, why was that man not nominated? 10s all across the board for this show for me. So next on this list is, I have no way to introduce this other than it's just an anime. I am the villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. Man, this show was funny. I love it because you have the main character where she is basically the villain of this game. And yes, it basically is a game brought to life. This is basically said in like the first episode, so I'm not spoiling anything. So Eileen, the name of the character, she basically regains memories of a past life she had, that she passed away and then basically got reincarnated as essentially who's supposed to be the villain of this game. And as the title implies, she's like, I'm gonna tame the final boss because I know this game, my character dies. I'm not doing that. But it is so much fun. The characters are great. You hate the villains. You love who's supposed to be the villain, but she's actually not. You actually fall in love with her. I love the whole thing about it. It was just amazing. It's only 12 episodes, which is such a shame. I hope that it does get renewed. This is also based off of a light novel series. As of right now, there's about 10 or 11, and I think it's still going. There's also 3 manga out, so if you saw my book haul video, I do talk a little bit about that. Yeah, this one, I would definitely, this is a 9.5, because yeah, it's got a little bit of a romance, but it's funny. It is so funny. I was laughing so much. And like I said, the characters are very much enjoyable. You will definitely fall in love with a lot of these characters. Hands down, Almond is MVP. Anybody who saw the series, you know what I'm talking about. Almond is MVP all the way. So second to last now on this list is a series on Netflix that's been going on for a while. It's by the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is The Dragon Prince Season 4, Mystery of Erebos. Now, there is a few issues with this season. It is definitely not the strongest of the 4 that are out right now. The pacing is a bit slow. Sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the House of Dragon basically did that, where it was slow in places and then sped up in others. This was definitely slow, but I understand, like, it's setting up for essentially end game of this series. I believe there's supposed to be 7 seasons, I think is what they announced. And unfortunately, I think what also makes this season suffer a little bit is you have to read the graphic novel that takes place between seasons 3 and 4, because it does set up a lot of things that take place in season 4. There are times, though, where I'm like, again, why can't people just talk? There is, of course, like a scene in there that has to do with a fire elf, or no, a sun elf, excuse me, and a fire that's in a camp, and that sequence was a little stupid. I understand it was setting up another character and her role of basically being the leader of the Sun Elves, but could have done it a little bit better. So for this one, I would definitely, this is a 6, maybe a 7, because of a couple pacing issues and a few scenes that I feel like they could have taken out. I still recommend people go watch it. It's still fun. So, last on the list, this is season 5 of The Crown. This one, similar to like The Dragon Prince, it was not my favorite of the series. This one mostly takes place like late 80s, early 90s. A whole new cast, because they gotta age up the characters. I mean, it's based on the British royal family. So this does have a tendency to also have you go back to like some early stuff. Like there's times where they go back to like the 40s or the 50s or even like the 70s maybe, that set up some stuff in an episode. It was not slow, but there were some scenes though that did feel a little bogged down. That's not the fault of the actors, because all the actors did a fantastic job with these characters. I mean, they did it. I just wish some scenes were a little less bogged down, a little less slow pacing, so to speak. I recommend this series because it is so good. This is based on, keep that in mind, so because there's some stuff in this series that didn't actually happen in real life or have been disproven of like, yeah, no, that's not a thing that happened. Even though they do add a couple things and leave a few things out that actually happened that would have been interesting to see in the show, these people still did do their research. They still definitely were like, we're doing this is going to be good. So this one is more like 7 or 8, maybe 8.5. I think it's an 8.5 actually. It's more 8.5, I would say. So that is all the movies and shows that I've liked this year. It is not all the ones that I've watched this year. There are several others that I just did not like and or flat out hated. So that's why they're not on the list. I'm not gonna make a video on shows and movies that I hated in 2022. Not doing it. But if there are movies and shows that I didn't bring up in this video, write them down in the comments, tell me why you liked them. If anybody in the comment section wants to talk at length and talk about spoilers of the shows and movies I listed, go ahead, just make sure you just put spoilers for those who maybe come in and don't want to be spoiled by stuff. Just be respectful of that. So yeah, that is it for this video. I will see you all in the next one.